issued consequent to the permission given by the National Board of Wildlife. And the National Board of Wildlife has said this wildlife clearance is cancelled. So if that is cancelled, forest clearance also is cancelled. But this is our opinion as far as the law is concerned. This is also the opinion of the Regional Environment Committee. And we are very clear that as of today, the project does not have wildlife clearance, and as far as we are concerned, there is no forest clearance. Now, the second aspect of this press conference is a study done by Wildlife Institute. Now, Wildlife Institute of India is an agency of Ministry of Environment and Forest. That means it's a government agency. Now, we do not know why a government agency is asked to do an EIA for a government project, because you know what the answer will be. Everybody in this country, whether they have gone to school, college, wherever it is, they will say, if you go for to do a wildlife study to the agency which is controlled by the central government, whose salaries also are coming from the central government, then of course there is going to be no objectivity, no transparency, no fairness at all. And the last thing is that the wildlife will get any justice. So this is what has happened. They raised the price from what was the original cost of the first project, the Wildlife Institute, coming to the flags? It was some 4 lakhs or something. Now they made it 4.7 crores. And they expected that with 4.7 crores they would get a good report. But the report is like this. It says there will be a lot of damage, but it says the damage can be mitigated, etc. If you do this, and you do this, and you do this, and you do this. Now, their own statement, conclusion is, from the Wildlife EIA, it says, even with a well-planned and successfully executed restoration project, it may not be possible to completely recover the biodiversity value lost because of the construction of the new alignment. This is the conclusion of Wildlife Institute of India State. One of the conclusions. They only say that though it is going to get lost, let it get lost, we will give some mitigation measures, but in the end they say that whatever we suggest, you will not get that biodiversity. Secondly, we have done an analysis of the Wildlife Institute study, and the Supreme Court had asked for a proper environment impact assessment study. Now for 4.7 crores, they have actually produced only what we call a biodiversity impact study. That is a BIA. It's not an EIA, it's a BIA. Technically it's called a BIA. Now, why are you producing a BIA when you are supposed to produce an EIA? EIA is, four-season data. It goes into all aspects, whether this project is required, whether alternative alignments are possible, what will be the impact on wildlife, total wildlife, biodiversity, etc. And then it comes to a conclusion whether this project should go ahead or not. And after the first Wildlife Institute of India study, which was placed before the Central Empire Committee and the Supreme Court, Central Empire Committee and Supreme Court both said this Wildlife Institute of India study is not at all worth relying upon, and therefore we are cancelling the wildlife clearance. Now the same group comes out with a more expensive study, but reduces it from a EIA to a BIA and gives this to the REC and says, you please consider this. So we don't understand what this game plan is. These are all so-called expert bodies. They are experts. There are government, forest department has got experienced forest officers. Government has got legal departments. But you produce a third-class study and then give it to another body to get a forest clearance restored so that they can get something. It is beyond our understanding what is the exercise. So as of now, we are firmly opposed to the railway track doubling in the wildlife sanctuary and national park. We have already approached the CEC once. We will not hesitate to approach the CEC a second time or to go to the Supreme Court if they do any mischief there. This is total malified work. I mean, you don't want to do a proper EIA study, because if you do a proper EIA study, and you should have, because you are now being paid 4.7 crores, then you would have given a proper analysis of the impact of that railway on the wildlife, the sanctuary and the biodiversity. That you have not done. And because you say we have spent 4.7 crores, therefore it is a scientific study. That will not work. That's not just because you spend 20 times the money now, it doesn't mean that your report is more scientific or better. As far as all these wildlife people are concerned, they have done very serious analysis of every aspect, every paragraph of the Wildlife Institute study, and they say that this is totally deficient and it leaves out of consideration a large number of species, it misrepresents certain species and so on, and this is not at all acceptable as a scientific study for such a project as the doubling of the wildlife. Now, our concern is you don't have forest clearance, you cannot proceed with the project inside the sanctuary or outside the sanctuary. That is the law. The law today says that if you make an application for forest clearance, for example, there is a 100-kilometer project and there is a forest in 50 kilometers and you want to get a forest clearance for those 50 kilometers. Because unless you get a forest clearance, you cannot cut the trees. The law says today that unless you get the forest clearance, you cannot work on the entire 100 kilometers of the total project. So what we are asking is, you don't have forest clearance for the entire 120 hectares which are within the wildlife sanctuary. It has been suspended. How is it that you are working outside the wildlife sanctuary? Because the project is from Hospet up to Vasco. And you are asking for forest clearance now from Castle Rock to Kule. Now Castle Rock to Kule is part of the project from Castle Rock to Vasco da Gama. You don't have the forest clearance for this segment. How is it that you are doing work on the area that is outside the segment? According to us, the entire doubling which is being done from Kule up to Vasco is illegal, because they cannot proceed with the construction, because it will not be possible. When they will get this wildlife clearance is doubtful. If they get the wildlife clearance, it will be challenged. If they get forest clearance, it will be challenged. So why are they going ahead with doubling inside and outside the project? They have tried to acquire land within the wildlife sanctuary at Kalai railway station for 3 plots. We moved the High Court and they dropped the land acquisition, because you cannot acquire land in wildlife sanctuary. There is an explicit prohibition. Once a notification is issued for wildlife sanctuary, you cannot acquire it. So if you cannot acquire land, you cannot construct the railway within the wildlife sanctuary. So if that is the case, you cannot get wildlife clearance, you cannot get forest clearance. And if you cannot get forest clearance for a part of this project, how are you proceeding with the rest of the project? Now from Pune right down to Vasco, a huge opposition is there. Tomorrow there is a big representation before the inspector of land survey and records. He is trying to give a survey number below the track, all the land which is below the track. He is trying to give them a new survey number because there is no survey number. And why there is no survey number? Because that land doesn't belong to railways. It belongs to the public, to the people all along the track. They have given the permission to the Southwestern Railway. Actually, they gave it to the ancestor of Southwestern Railway, which is in 1888. At that time, they said, "We are constructing a railway line here. We are giving you permission to put a railway line." But no land was conveyed. The land till today belongs to all the people who are residing along the railway. So they are saying, how is it that you are doing construction work in Kansauli and all without acquiring this land? And how is it that you are proceeding with the work when you are not owners of this land? The railway has no explanation, but the railway says that we are Indian Railways and we can do whatever we want. You remember that English rhyme? Piggy on the railway picking up stones. Remember the nursery rhyme? And up came an engine driver and broke Piggy's bones. And ow, said the piggy, that's not fair. And what if the railway driver says, I don't care. This is a nursery rhyme when the railway was being constructed in England. This is a nursery rhyme created to show the attitude of railway engineers when they face ordinary people. They say, we'll break your bones and we don't care. And today what the railways are doing is, in the wildlife sanctuary they have tried to do something, we immediately attacked them and got them to stop the work. But outside the wildlife sanctuary, because you have to go to civil courts and lots of other things, and the state government is supporting the railway to, despite the violation of people's rights, outside it, the railways are going ahead, invading people's private properties, dumping mud, bringing excavators, blocking the access to ancestral homes, and they don't care. But this is not the proper attitude of the railways. Railways belongs to us. We are citizens of India. The railway is public property. As citizens, we own the railway also, and we can question the railway on this conduct and say that you can't behave like this. If you want, you please follow the law, follow the norms, and you construct the railway. We have no difficulty, we will support you. But you don't do it like this. This is not to be done. And so tomorrow there will be a big agitation at Margao, at the office of the, as I said, the surveyor, inspector of survey and land records. All the people who are residing on the side tracks are going to come there, and both Amche, Mole and the Goa Foundation are solidly supporting them, because we fully believe that they have a just cause. The railway cannot construct the railway line on a portion of a track for which forest clearance is still required and which they may not get. So if they don't get, people are going to ask, हांगापासून तुम्ही डबल ट्रॅक केला आणि वयर तुम्ही डबल ट्रॅक केला आणि सिंगल ट्रॅक मध्ये घालता किती फायदा म्हणून लोक विचारतात. People are going to ask. You have got single track from Kule up to Castle Rock. After that you have double track, and from Kule you have got double track. What is the use? What is the use? So it's public money which will be wasted, and after some time these railways will be used for the people to sleep, and platforms will be used to sleep and all, because you will not be able to run the trains because the crucial block is still there. And this Central Empowered Committee told the Supreme Court that even if they put a double track in the wildlife sanctuary, they will have to follow the same norms as on single track. That means the utility of putting a double track to the sanctuary is not at all proven by the railway authority, because each one requires 6 engines to go up, and therefore it is not possible to manage the logistics even on a double track. So they said, what to what? And the Supreme Court made one more observation. It says you are doing coal, no? Don't do it in Goa. Do it through Visakhapatnam port. It's given in the order. They said don't do coal in Goa. Take the coal out because it is not viable. CEC said it is not viable. Why is the railway and the MPDA or the MPT or whatever they call them, why are they still pursuing with transportation of coal in Goa, which involves taking the coal through wildlife sanctuary, when both the Supreme Court and the Central Empowered Committee has said, please take the line somewhere else? It's given in a judgment of 11th of May 2020. So these are questions that we are asking. But today we have come basically to say that the Goa government should not be anti-forest and anti-wildlife in such a consistent manner. In the case of Karnataka, for the same project, they have gone before the Karnataka State Wildlife Advisory Board. Forest Department of Karnataka has said we are not agreeable to double tracking, and we are not agreeable to destruction of more than 5,000 trees, because they said this railway has already done lot of damage to wildlife. Karnataka Forest Department has written to the railways, we have got the letters, we can give them to you, saying that please reduce the speed of the railways because you are killing animals all over. Just, from this book, just take out that, page in the 12th chapter where we show all this picture. They have said that you are killing, please reduce the speed You are running it at 80 kilometers per hour, reduce it to 30 kilometers per hour so that the animals can survive. But they have refused. Simple thing like reducing the speed through a wildlife sanctuary, and that is Kali Tiger Reserve, they have refused. So the Forest Department of Karnataka says, we are not agreeable to cutting down 5,000 trees. In Goa it is not 5,000 trees, it is nearly 22,000 trees in the forest. Now that you are here and your cameras are here, this is Fish Curry Rice latest report, shows you the amount of wildlife being killed by Southwestern Railway. These are pictures from forest officers of Karnataka government. Pictures of Goa government we have not obtained because they are not releasing them, but we have got the data about the animals killed on the Goa tracks also, Goa portion of the track. Now, if you have this much damage to wildlife, how will you allow doubling to take place? Because even on single track, you are not following the speed which is given to you by the Forest Department. So, anybody will think that you should, a wildlife board, state wildlife board, national wildlife board, if they see these pictures, they will say, Baba, we also will not approve. So, if you are not approving, and if the public is still opposed to the double tracking project to Wildlife Sanctuary and National Park, then there is no point in doing any doubling work in Valsao, Kansauli, etc. because first of all it is illegal, it is violating your own Forest Conservation Act norms which are there in black and white. Illegal as far as we are concerned. Secondly, the Supreme Court has said there is no need to take this type of transport to Wildlife Sanctuary. Take the other route to Visakhapatnam where you can directly go to your steel plants and so on. And thirdly, the opposition of all the local people, which is just being swept aside by the railways, violating every law in the book, violating people's fundamental rights, rights to property, invading private properties, dumping mud wherever they want, closing the access of people to their houses. This you cannot do under the pretext of constructing a railway. Railway is a corporate body. They are supposed to have, they have got umpteen circulars which tell them please have a good convivial relationship with the people along the railway track. These are circulars issued by the railway board. But this Southwestern Railway and RVNL are daily violating this by creating enmity between the railway and the people along the railway track, which they should not do, and which we seriously deplore. Southwestern Railway and RVNL have to improve their conduct and their relationship with the local community. And if they go on like this, the opposition will continue for several years, as happened with the Konkan Railway. Konkan Railway project began in 1994. It could not be completed till 1998 because of opposition from Goa. Finally, when it was constructed, it was in debt for 20 years. Only in 2024 was the first year they declared a small profit. Otherwise, they have been receiving funds from the government of India as a dole because of their debt for more than 20 years. And this will be the fate of this project also. The public doesn't have money to spend and waste in these type of projects, which are being delayed also because of legitimate protests from the. Now I will send you on the same email ID. I will send you in Word format so that you can copy whatever you want from this, and I will send you the minutes also of the REC which has rejected the proposal of the Goa government. And I will also send you the Karnataka, because we couldn't locate it, but we have got it on our computer. Karnataka State Wildlife Advisory Board, which has said no, we are not giving, we don't approve this cutting of trees in the Tiger Reserve or in the Wildlife Sanctuary. And because of that, the State Wildlife Board has also said we will appoint one more committee to go and examine this. And by the time that committee gives a report, who knows how long that will take. But it is really deplorable that the Goa government's Forest Department does not examine the matter and routinely gives mechanical permissions to the railways. And this application now before the REC was moved by the Goa government and not by the railways. So Goa government is actively pursuing destruction of forest in its own wildlife sanctuaries. Something we cannot understand. This has to stop.
Claude, how many wild animals were found killed at the Goa tracks? Goa side of the tracks.
I can't give you offhand, but I will give you the RTI information which I have got. I didn't bring it with me. I will send it to you. I'll send it across to you. Just make a note of it. Those are money to give them the RTI, which gives the animals killed in the Goa segment. When we actually were preparing for the CEC visit, a group of us had walked from Castle Rock all along the track. It took us the whole day. Right down from Castle Rock to Pune, we walked during the whole day, morning to evening, and we found a lot of signs of wildlife on the track, including snakes with their heads cut off, smaller animals like porcupines. We found them all along. That was only on one day when we went on that track. Now, if the forest officers don't go every day, they go only when a big animal is involved, because then it is lying on the track, it has to be removed, it will create problems. So then they all go and take camera pictures of it. But if the small life, and forest is not only bison, Goan, it is so many other things, and particularly the snakes, the porcupines, all these fellows, the porcupines cannot move very fast. So they all get slaughtered. We really don't know the impact, and these people should do a better job of looking at the amount of damage that they have done to wildlife. Even on the road, National Highway expansion that we are doing, on that road also we have seen this porcupines completely smashed to pieces by trucks. So this is a sort of a killing field for wildlife, and this land belongs to the wildlife. We always say that the right of way is not of the railways in a wildlife sanctuary. Right of way, that is ROW, is of the wildlife. That is the principle that governs activity in the wildlife sanctuary and national park. And the government of India respects it, but the railways doesn't respect it, and the Goa government does not respect it. Any other questions?
Thank you.